The Kite. Berry the snail was still asleep when Dolly the ladybird knocked on his window. "Good morning, Berry. Let's make a kite." Dolly drew a kite and Berry cut it out. They decorated it with colourful ribbons and then they tied it to a long piece of string. "Let's see if it flies," Dolly said. They took each other's hand and set off to fly their kite. But no matter how hard the two of them tried, the kite just wouldn't fly. "I'll climb up this tree and try it from there. Maybe then it'll fly," Dolly explained. But the kite just fell to the ground again. All of a sudden the wind blew up and carried the kite away and took Dolly with it. "Berry, help!" Berry climbed up the tree and grabbed Dolly's feet, but he couldn't pull her back, so now the two of them were flying. Balthazar the bee flew by. He caught hold of Berry's feet, but he couldn't pull the kite back either. So now the three of them were flying. Eddie the potato beetle was sitting on top of a pine tree. He caught Balthazar's feet, so now the four of them were flying. "Leapy, help!" Balthazar cried to the grasshopper, who was just hopping by. Leapy caught Eddie's feet, so now the five of them were flying. The wind got stronger and stronger. Flutter the butterfly flew by. She caught Leapy's feet, so now the six of them were flying. Stanley the stag beetle and Zephyr the dragonfly looked at their friends in despair. "Oh dear, the wind's blowing us right into the forest." The kite got tangled in the top of a tall tree, and they landed in the treetops. The wind died down, and the sun came out. Berry gave the ladybird a worried look. "Dolly, I can't fly. How am I going to get down from here?" "Don't worry, Berry. I'm sure we'll think of something."
"I know what to do. Jump into this blanket, Berry. Don't be afraid. You won't hurt yourself."
Berry jumped down into the blanket and bounced back up in the air. "Look at me. This is fun." "We want to try," the others shouted. The little friends jumped up and down on the blanket until it got dark. Long after they were all in bed asleep, the wind blew up again and carried the kite far, far away. The rainbow. It was a rainy summer day. Dolly the ladybird and Berry the snail sat sadly underneath a giant leaf. Then the sun came out and the sky was blue again, but the shower didn't stop. And soon a colourful rainbow stretched across the sky. "It's beautiful!" they shouted. Berry thought it would be a good idea to climb up the rainbow and slide down on the other side, but his first try didn't work. "I think I'll try from the other side," he said. "Trust me, you can't climb a rainbow," Dolly said to the excited snail. But then Berry came up with a new plan. "I'll use a ladder." "Oh, Berry, I don't think it's a good idea," Dolly said anxiously. Dolly was right, and Berry was angry. Dolly tried to distract her friend. "Come and play something else." But Berry still didn't give up. "Look, Dolly, I'm sure I can jump on top of it from here." But that idea didn't work either. Dolly ran over to Berry. "Are you all right?" she asked. "I'm fine," Berry sulked. Berry was very sad, and Dolly tried everything to cheer him up. "I got you some flowers," she said kindly. But Berry couldn't be comforted. Then the rain dried up and the rainbow disappeared. They walked home hand in hand, and Dolly said nice things to the little snail. "Chin up, Berry. It's your birthday the day after tomorrow, and I'm sure you'll get some super presents." Dolly had a great idea when she got home. "I'll make a rainbow slide for Berry's birthday," she said to herself. "Then his dream can come true, and he can slide down a rainbow." Balthazar the bee and Flutter the butterfly helped her. Balthazar, Dolly and Flutter painted the slide with colourful paint, wrapped it in yellow paper and tied it up with a blue ribbon. The three friends even baked a cake for Berry. When the time came, Balthazar and Flutter took Berry to Dolly's house, where everything was ready for the birthday party. "Let's give him his presents," yelled Balthazar, and Dolly gave Berry the chocolate cake. "A real rainbow! A rainbow slide! Can I try the slide?" "Sure you can," Dolly replied. Berry liked the rainbow slide very much. He slid on it again and again. Flutter and Balthazar were so happy they started to dance. "You know, Dolly," said Berry, "it really is a nice present. Thank you." Lots of friends joined in the birthday celebrations. There was Leapy the grasshopper, Eddie the potato beetle, Zephyr the dragonfly, and even Stanley the stag beetle came. The little snail let everybody try his new slide. Berry, Dolly, and their friends played on the slide until it got dark. Berry went to bed very happy that day. "What a wonderful birthday I've had," he sighed with a smile. The Snowman. One cold winter morning, Berry the snail knocked on Dolly's front door. "Let's go and play with my sledge in the snow." Dolly quickly put on her winter coat and her hat, scarf and gloves. She sat on the sledge and the little snail pulled her along. Eventually, the snow stopped. Berry and Dolly enjoyed the winter sunshine. They sledged down the steep side of the hill. "Look at that super snowman!" Berry shouted. Oh dear, we're going to hit it. But it was too late. The sledge ran right into the snowman that stood at the foot of the hill. Did you hurt yourself? Berry asked Dolly. No, I didn't, but I think we've ruined the snowman. Yes, it tipped right over, Berry said. I'm going to eat its carrot nose. Let's have a snowball fight with the snow from the snowman. Berry and Dolly started to throw snowballs. It was a lot of fun. Soon there was almost nothing left of the snowman. Just then, Balthazar the bee appeared and said hello to his friends. Do you want to throw snowballs with us?
I'm too busy. I've brought a hat and a scarf to put on my snowman I built yesterday. Haven't you seen it?
Berry and Dolly looked at each other. Oh dear, Berry whispered. Balthazar must be looking for the snowman we hit. They didn't dare tell Balthazar that they'd knocked his snowman over. No, we haven't seen a snowman.
I can't find my snowman anywhere.
Berry and Dolly felt very sorry for the little bee. Don't be sad, Berry said finally. Let's build a new one.
Okay,
Balthazar sniffled. Dolly made the biggest snowball. It went on the bottom. Balthazar made the middle one for the snowman's tummy. And Berry made the smallest snowball for the snowman's head. Then Dolly lifted Berry up so he could stick the head on top. Then the snowman was finished, and Balthazar could finally put the stripy scarf around its neck. Berry took a big jump and put the red saucepan on its head for a hat.
Hey, it looks really super,
Balthazar said enthusiastically. Balthazar, we've got something to tell you. We smashed your first snowman. We slid right into it with our sledge. It was an accident.
What? It was you?
Balthazar was very surprised, but then he soon forgave his friends.
This snowman looks much better than the first one,
he declared.
Come on, let's sledge down the hill together.
Berry, Dolly and Balthazar played with the sledge until it got dark, and were very careful not to hit their new snowman. Friends. It was a super sunny day and Dolly the ladybird sat staring out of the window. I'm going to eat breakfast, she thought, and then I'll go for a walk in the meadow. She decided to take her wheelbarrow with her. I wonder if I'll find something interesting to take home in my wheelbarrow, she thought to herself. Goodness me, said Dolly. What a lovely red cherry. That's just perfect for my lunch. She tried to lift the cherry into her wheelbarrow, but it was far too heavy. Too heavy for one little ladybird. Just then, Berry the snail appeared. Why the sad face, ladybird? Asked Berry. I can't lift this cherry into my wheelbarrow, Dolly replied. Don't cry, I'll help you, Berry said with a smile, and the two of them picked the cherry up with no trouble at all. Dolly set straight off home with the juicy cherry. Now it was Berry who looked sad. "Don't you want to share the cherry with me?" the snail said, and stamped his little foot. "I did help you." "But I found it first," Dolly snapped. "You're not having any. It's mine." Berry was very upset. The two of them started to fight over the cherry. "It's mine! It's mine!" shouted Dolly. "That's not fair!" Berry shouted back. They pushed and pulled the cherry until it split clean in two. Berry and Dolly plopped to the ground. They were very surprised when a green grub crawled out of the cherry.
What have you done to my cherry?
He grumbled.
That cherry was my home. Oh, don't look so upset,
the grub said.
I know where we can find plenty more. You can eat cherries while I find a new home for myself.
Dolly helped the grub into her wheelbarrow, and they all set off to look for the cherry tree. When they arrived, they found the ground around the cherry tree was covered in ripe red fruit. Berry and Dolly jumped for joy. The grub fell fast asleep, while Berry and Dolly munched away on fresh cherries, and the time soon flew by. It was getting late, so they decided to go home, but this time with 2 cherries, one for Dolly and one for Berry. The sun was setting by the time they reached Berry's house. They took his cherry out of the wheelbarrow and said goodbye. Berry went inside and waved to Dolly from the window. Berry soon fell fast asleep after such an exciting day. The little snail dreamt about playing in cherries with Dolly and eating until their tummies were full. Then Dolly got back home and went straight to bed. From that day on, Berry and Dolly were the best of friends. The Sandcastle. On a sunny summer day, Berry, Dolly, Bubble and Balthazar put on their swimming costumes, grabbed their buckets and spades, and set out for Sand Island to build castles.
Look at this huge watermelon,
Balthazar said in surprise. Oh, let's take it with us, Berry suggested. Then we can all have a feast at the end of the day. Okay, Berry, we'll take it. Berry, Dolly, Balthazar and Bubble carefully rolled the watermelon in front of them as they walked along. But when the friends got to the top of the hill, the round watermelon started to roll away down the slope. Stop it! Dolly shouted to the others. Bubble pounced on the watermelon, but he couldn't stop it. The baby beetle slipped off and bumped his head. The juicy watermelon just carried on rolling down the side of the hill. They all ran after it as fast as they could, but the watermelon was much faster than all of them. Then a terrible thing happened. The watermelon smashed into a sharp rock. Our lovely watermelon smashed into pieces, Dolly moaned.
Oh, the watermelon!
Balthazar was very sad too.
Why are you all complaining? Let's eat it instead,
the baby beetle suggested. So the 4 friends sat down and started to munch on the watermelon. They ate the sweet red fruit until their tummies were full. We'd better hurry to Sand Island, or there'll be no time left to build sandcastles.
Dolly, wait for me. I'll fly with you,
Balthazar said.
Me too,
Bubble added.
but I can't fly. Are you 3 going to leave me here?
Berry asked with a sad sob.
Let's build boats out of the watermelon rind. This way Berry can sail to the island with us,
Balthazar suggested. They selected 4 strong pieces of melon rind. 1 for Dolly, 1 for Berry, 1 for Balthazar, and 1 for Bubble. They made the masts out of strong branches and the sails out of large leaves. When they were done, they launched the little boats on the water, and the wind quickly carried them away to Sand Island.
Hooray! We're sailing,
Berry said with an excited squeak. They all got to Sand Island with plenty of time left to play.
Look! Someone's coming! And he's got a bucket in his hand.
Indeed, there was a cheerful beetle walking towards them on the sandy shore.
Who are you?
Dolly asked.
I'm Sean, the sand beetle. I live here and was about to build a sandcastle. Really?
Balthazar asked.
Can we join you?
Of course you can. Let's all build together, Sean said with joy. The 5 of them built a grand sandcastle with all kinds of tunnels, towers and bridges.
Now all it needs is a flag on top,
Dolly said. So she drew a picture of Sean on a leaf and stuck it in the very top of the castle.
That looks super!
Does that mean it's my sandcastle now? Sean said enthusiastically. When the sun went in, Dolly and her friends said goodbye to Sean and headed home.
Good night, King of the Castle!
Dolly shouted, waving goodbye to their new friend. Stanley Skates. It was a crispy winter day and Berry and Dolly were walking by the lake. It had frozen over and was covered by a very thick layer of ice.
Come on, Dolly, let's slide on the ice,
the little snail suggested. The ladybird happily agreed. Berry and Dolly stepped cautiously onto the ice. They held on tightly to each other and began to slide slowly around. They were really having a wonderful time. They soon warmed up. They fell over every now and then, but when they did, they just laughed and carried on playing. Stanley the stag beetle stood and watched them.
Stanley, you have to try this. Come and slide with us, it's so much fun,
Berry said to his friend. Stanley was slightly scared but stepped onto the ice out of curiosity.
Ah!
He yelled as his feet slipped out from under him and he fell on his bottom. Berry and Dolly ran over to him.
We'll give you a hand, Stanley.
The 2 friends stood either side of Stanley and guided him slowly forward.
Now we'll let go of you and you can try by yourself,
Dolly told him. Then the snail and the ladybird let Stanley go.
Slow down, Stanley,
Dolly shouted, and Stanley tried to stop, but he stumbled and sped into a patch of prickly bushes.
Help! I'm full of prickles and my antler hurts. It hurts a lot.
Dolly ran over quickly to take a look at the injured stag beetle.
Don't give up,
Dolly said, and bandaged Stanley's painful antler with her dotty scarf. Just then, A beautiful girl beetle slid out onto the ice. She moved over the frozen surface of the water as gracefully as can be.
Wow, who are you?
Dolly asked.
I'm Iris the ice beetle.
Hi, Iris. She's Dolly the ladybird, he's Stanley the stag beetle, and I'm Berry the snail,
Berry said in his politest voice.
How do you manage to glide on the ice like that?
Stanley asked the stranger.
Because I'm wearing ice skates, special shoes that can slide on the ice, Iris replied. You have to buckle them to your boots.
Did you make them yourself?
Berry asked curiously.
Yes, I made them. It's really not that difficult. I can make ice skates for all of you if you like.
Hooray! The three friends shouted excitedly. Berry, Dolly, Stanley and Iris went to the forest together. Iris sorted through the branches lying on the ground and eventually found one good for the job. They all got to work, sawing and hammering in tiny nails. Everybody did their share.
They're finished,
Iris eventually announced, and there were 3 pairs of brand new ice skates sitting on the table. Berry and Dolly felt a little bit nervous as they fastened their new ice skates on, but Stanley was the most worried. Berry and Dolly held onto each other and stepped out onto the ice. Iris helped Stanley.
Sliding on the ice is so much better with ice skates,
Stanley laughed. Iris held Stanley's hand for a long time before he was happy to slide all on his own. He soon learned how to turn and start and stop.
I can do it! I can ice skate!
He announced at the end of a very long but happy day. The Yellow Ladybird. The spring had come at last. Dolly decided it was time to tidy up her flower garden. She got her spade and a rake and tied a pretty dotted scarf around her head. She had only just stepped outside when she heard someone groaning behind her house.
Christopher, your wing looks broken,
the little ladybird exclaimed.
The sun shone in my eyes and I flew straight into a tree. I really hurt myself,
the canary said. Just then, Berry the snail and Stanley the stag beetle arrived.
Stanley, please go and get Dr. Owl. Christopher's wing's broken,
Dolly said, taking control. Dr. Owl soon arrived. It looks like a very bad break, he said seriously. Then carefully and slowly he bandaged Christopher's broken wing.
You know, Dolly, Christopher said one day, there's a little ladybird living on the island I come from.
Really? Is she red with black dots like me?
Dolly asked excitedly.
And what's her name?
She's called Katie. Her back isn't red, it's yellow, but her dots are black like yours. She looks a lot like you. Why don't you come to meet her when my wing's better?
That sounds like a super idea. Can Berry come too?
Of course he can. There's enough room for both of you on my back.
A few days later, Dr. Owl came to visit the injured canary. He was happy to say that Christopher's wing was as good as new. The canary thanked the owl for his help, put Berry and Dolly on his back, and headed for his island home. They soon found themselves flying over a large lake with a little island in the middle of the water.
Can you see it? We're flying to that island. My nest is on top of the highest tree. Hold on tight, we're coming in to land.
Christopher landed perfectly, and Berry and Dolly climbed down. You can't catch me, shouted a bright beetle in an orange dress. She was talking to the tiny fleas running after her. Watch out, Dolly shouted, but the girl beetle ran right into her. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to knock you over. My name's Katie. Who are you? Oh, you're Katie. We're here to see you. My name's Dolly, and I've come a long way to meet my ladybird cousin. Ladybird cousin? Katie asked with a puzzled smile. Yes, you've got black dots just like me, except you're yellow instead of red. Wow, you're right, the yellow ladybird said. Come with me and I'll show you my house, Katie said. As soon as they saw Katie's house, Berry and Dolly started to laugh. My house looks exactly like this, but mine's red. Berry, Dolly and Katie took a long walk around the island. There's the pine forest with the little stream running next to it. We built the bridge ourselves, Katie explained with pride. And what's that in the middle of the meadow? Berry asked. It looks like a slide. That's right. It's a special flower slide. Come with me. I'll show you. Can I have a go? Of course you can. Follow me, Katie said and slid down on the curvy slide. Berry, Dolly and Katie slid down the slide again and again until it started to get dark. It's getting late. Come on, you two, I'll take you home, Christopher said. Dolly and Katie swapped headscarves as a parting present. Have a safe trip home, Katie told them. Do visit me again sometime. It was getting very late by the time Christopher arrived at Dolly's dotty house. The moon shone and the sky was full of sparkling stars. Pebbles. One sunny summer afternoon, Dolly decided to cook a strawberry cake. She asked Stanley the stag beetle and Balthazar the bee to go and collect wild strawberries in the forest. The two boys set off. Balthazar soon spotted a pebble in the middle of the path, and he started to kick it along. But Stanley also liked the look of the pebble, and he tackled it off Balthazar.
That's not fair, Stanley. I found it. I want to kick it down the path.
It's my pebble now. Find another pebble to kick.
But I found it, so it's mine,
Balthazar moaned. There are loads of pebbles. Find another one, Stanley said, trying to close the argument. But Balthazar wouldn't leave it at that. He pushed Stanley out of the way so that he could kick the pebble. The two of them continued to push and shove until they both tumbled down the hill into the babbling brook. Alfonso the cricket came out of his house to see what all the noise was about.
What's going on?
He asked.
It's all Stanley's fault. He took my pebble.
It wasn't your pebble. I was just a better kicker.
That's enough of that,
Alfonso interrupted.
Come inside, get dry, and then tell me all about what started this silly argument.
The two boys muttered to themselves as they followed the cricket into his little house. They hung their wet clothes out in the hot sun and sat wrapped in towels while they waited for them to dry. Alfonso gave them both a glass of lemonade and a biscuit. The sun's warm rays soon dried the clothes. Stanley and Balthazar munched sulkily on their biscuits. They told Alfonso all about what had happened and how they had rolled down the hill into the brook.
I've got a whole collection of pebbles.
Pebbles? Can we have a look?
Balthazar enthused.
Of course,
Alfonso said with a proud smile, and he placed a large box on the table. Where did you find all these lovely pebbles? Stanley asked.
Down by the brook. You can collect some too if you like.
They filled their baskets with pebbles. They sat sorting them and organising them until it started to get dark. The little stag beetle and the bee boy said goodbye to their cricket friend and started to walk back up the hill. They soon came to Dolly's house. The little ladybird girl shouted angrily out of the window. Where are the strawberries?
Oh dear.
There's strawberries.
We forgot the strawberries.
Dolly, look at the lovely pebbles we collected with Alfonso.
What am I supposed to do with them? Make pebble cakes? I asked for strawberries.
But we forgot.
Stanley admitted, and he told her the whole long story.
Well, I see. Let me have a look at those pebbles, if you didn't bring any strawberries. We should paint something on them. This one looks just like a little house. And this one, I might paint a smiley face on it.
That's a super idea. We can invite the others and spend all day painting pebbles.
Great!
The next morning, Berry the little snail boy arrived at Dolly's house with Flutter the butterfly, Zephyr the dragonfly, Leapy the grasshopper, Eddie the potato beetle and Bubble the baby beetle.
Where are Stanley and Balthazar?
Berry asked with a disappointed sigh.
Here we are,
The stag beetle and the bee boy announced, and they proudly presented Dolly with a big basket of strawberries.
Oh, thank you,
The little ladybird girl said, and she mixed the cake while the others got to work painting the pebbles. When they had finished, they invited Alfonso to come and see their exhibition.
They all look really good. I'll bring my pebbles tomorrow and we can paint them too.
The cricket told his friends. When the strawberry cake was ready, they all sat around the table and ate every last crumb. Butterfly Girls. One spring day, Flutter the butterfly girl was picking wild flowers in the meadow. She plaited them into a crown and placed it on her head. Then, from nowhere, she heard an unfamiliar tinkling laughter. She looked right and she looked left, but she could not see anyone. Suddenly, 7 butterfly girls flew out from behind a tree. "Come with us," they giggled.
Okay.
Flutter said and flew to join them. The butterfly girls were all pretty but very naughty. They loved to play tricks on people they met. The first was Alfonso.
Give me back my violin!
The cricket shouted because one of the flying butterfly girls had snatched it out of his hands and flown off with it. She played music on it surprisingly well.
Give it back!
Alfonso complained. The butterfly girl handed the violin to another butterfly girl, who handed it to another, and they all made fun of the poor cricket. Flutter didn't like this teasing. In the end, the butterfly girls gave him back his violin and flew on. They rested on a blossoming tree and stuffed their pockets with sweetly scented and brightly coloured pollen. Then they flew over the boys playing a game of badminton.
Look, Stanley,
said Eddie.
they're so pretty.
Balthazar, Bubble, Eddie and Stanley stood staring up at the heavenly creatures with their mouths wide open. But they were not happy for very long. The butterfly girls turned their pockets out and covered the boys in pollen. It made all the beetle boys sneeze terribly. The butterfly girls chuckled and their laughter tinkled in the gentle breeze. They flew on so quickly that Flutter could hardly keep up.
Wait!
Flutter panted and rested on the top of a lilac bush.
Come with us. We're going to fly over to the other side of the hill, all the way to the waterfall. It's so beautiful. You'll see.
One of them chimed.
No, I shan't go with you,
Flutter said firmly.
I live here. I like my friends, and I don't like playing naughty tricks on them. You go, but I'm staying here where I belong.
Okay, well, all the best, they called back and flew away. They flew on to new places where they stunned those that they met with their dazzling beauty and then played naughty tricks on them. Flutter watched them go for a while and then smiled as she turned and headed back home. But before she got home, she paid a visit to the cricket. She was happy to see that Alfonso was merrily playing his violin again. Stanley, Balthazar, Eddie, Bubble and Berry were playing hopscotch, and they shouted to Flutter to come and join them. The butterfly girl was happy to see that they had all managed to wash off that sticky pollen.
The Water Snail. Berry, Dolly, Flutter and Balthazar were sitting around in the meadow. I wish I had a cousin too, a distant snail relative, Berry sighed.
But you've got a sort of cousin, Berry. The water snail is a kind of snail,
Flutter the butterfly said. Really? Berry jumped to his feet with a grin. Where does this water snail live? Nowhere, Balthazar retorted. I don't think there's such a thing as a water snail.
Oh, yes, there is. I know where he lives. He's got a little house deep down in the round pond on the other side of the forest.
You're talking nonsense, the bee said.
Why don't we go down to the round pond to see for ourselves?
Come with me. I'll take you, Hedgehog Harry told his friends. We can be there before it gets dark.
Hooray, Berry whooped. I'll bring the air tank so we can swim down to the bottom of the pond. Berry, Dolly, Flutter and Balthazar hopped into the hedgehog cart and set out for the round pond. It was late in the evening by the time they finally caught sight of the pond. The cart's running away, the little bee shouted, but it was already too late. The hedgehog cart rolled right into the water. Berry, Dolly, Balthazar and Flutter all started crying. It's too late to do anything today. Let's go to bed, and tomorrow you can all swim down to the bottom of the pond. I'm sure you'll find the cart, Harry comforted them. Berry woke up bright and early the next morning. Look, the water lily has opened its petals and there's someone standing on its leaf and he's waving at us. Who are you? Berry asked politely. Hello, everybody. My name's Sam Snail and I live deep down at the bottom of the round pond. See, Balthazar, water snails do exist after all. I've got my own proper cousin now. Sam Snail didn't understand why Berry was so happy to see him. But then Dolly told him why they had come. I'm so happy to meet you, Cousin Berry, the water snail said.
Would you help us find our cart that rolled into the water, Sam?
Flutter asked. I'd be delighted. Follow me, the water snail said. So the four friends slipped into their swimming costumes and swam all the way down to the bottom of the pond. This is where I live, Sam Snail announced with pride. They heard a frightening hissing sound that scared Berry, Dolly, Flutter and Balthazar, who hid behind the house. Don't be scared. It's my friend the Water Snake. Water Snake, have you seen a cart at the bottom of the pond by any chance? Hang on to me and I'll take you there. There it is, the Water Snake hissed. Berry, Dolly, Balthazar and Flutter were happy they'd found it.
You did it,
said Harry. He was so happy to see his little friends again. Let's go for a trip on the pond, Sam Snail suggested. They all sat on the lily pad and Sam Snail started rowing.
It's time we were going,
Dolly said when it began to get dark. Oh, let's stay a little longer, Berry pleaded.
We'll come again another day,
Flutter reassured the little snail. Harry Hedgehog was already waiting for them.
Berry, Dolly, Flutter and Balthazar all said goodbye to Sam Snail and headed for home. The next day, Berry and Dolly both painted colourful pictures of their distant cousins. The Little Bumblebee. Early one morning, Berry, Dolly and Balthazar went out to play in the meadow. They wanted to try out the new parachute the little bee had made. But a little bumblebee was picking lilac flowers and singing a happy song.
The winter's gone and it's the spring. Lilac is my favourite thing.
Balthazar was the first to greet her.
Hello, little bumblebee. My name's Balthazar. This is Berry the snail and Dolly the ladybird. Who are you?
My name's Betty. I was flying home and I decided to stop and pick lilac flowers in the meadow.
We're on our way to try this new parachute. Do you want to come with us?
Balthazar asked.
I'd love to.
Balthazar and Betty were the first to jump, and then the other friends tried the colourful parachute. They played until it got dark.
Will you play with us again tomorrow?
Balthazar asked excitedly.
I can't. I have to leave early tomorrow morning. My home is far away from here, and I still have a long way to go.
So Berry, Dolly and Balthazar said goodbye to Betty. Balthazar looked very upset, so Dolly asked him,
What's wrong?
Balthazar's got a girlfriend, Berry laughed.
Don't make fun of him, Berry, Dolly said angrily. You know what, Balthazar? Ask Betty to stay here. We can build her a house in the woods.
That's a super idea. I'll go to the meadow tomorrow morning and ask her to stay.
Balthazar, Dolly and Berry got up very early the next day. They hurried to the meadow to talk to Betty. But the friends were too late. The little bumblebee had already left. The only thing they found was a farewell note she'd left for them pinned to a tree. Balthazar sat down on the grass and started to cry. Berry didn't laugh at him this time.
Let's go after her, the little snail said. I'm sure we can catch her up.
Berry, you're such a slow snail. We'll never catch up with Betty if you don't hurry up,
Balthazar moaned. Berry was going to say something back to Balthazar when a hedgehog stepped out of the bushes.
Perhaps I can help. I'm not too fast, but I'm sure I'm much faster than you three.
The friends liked the idea. They built a little cart out of a horse chestnut shell and tied it to the hedgehog's spikes. The hedgehog cart was ready to roll.
Let's rest a little while,
Dolly suggested when it got dark.
We'll carry on tomorrow morning.
Balthazar started to cry again.
We'll never find her.
I can smell something sweet. It's lilac blossom.
Lilac? Dolly wondered.
But there aren't any lilac bushes around here. Let's look around.
Would you like to come back and live with us? We could build you a little bumblebee house in a tree. You wouldn't have to fly back to your faraway home. We'd be so happy if you lived with us.
That's a super idea. We'd all be very happy.
Berry and Dolly nodded.
Thank you. I'd love to come and live with you,
Betty replied. She was happy.
You came all this way to find me. That's so nice of you.
They all jumped into the hedgehog cart and trundled back to the meadow. They started to build the house the very next morning. They built Betty a pretty treehouse near the lilac field. When the bumblebee's house was ready, they had a big party. All the forest friends were invited. They danced and ate late into the night and made their new neighbour very welcome indeed. Sea Adventure. One summer day, Berry the snail and Dolly the ladybird found a colourful storybook. It was packed with pretty pictures of the sea swimming with fishes and crabs. And there was another strange animal that Berry had never seen.
It's called an octopus, but I've never seen a real one either.
Why don't we go to the sea? Berry asked excitedly.
But we don't know where the sea is, Berry.
I know, let's ask Dr. Owl. He knows everything. Do you know how to get to the sea, Dr. Owl?
You'll need to build a boat and sail down the stream. The stream will take you to the river, and the river flows right into the sea.
Berry and Dolly thanked Dr. Owl for his advice and got to work right away. The 3 owl chicks happily helped them build their boat. The 2 friends jumped in, and the stream carried them all the way to the sea.
Hooray! We're going to see the sea.
The wind blew their boat down the stream and then the river. It wasn't long before the vast blue sea was right in front of them.
We're here,
yelled Berry. He pulled the boat to the shore and tied it to a palm tree.
Come on, Dolly. Let's dive to the bottom of the sea.
The 2 friends saw all kinds of incredible creatures under the sea. They spotted a big crab and followed it to the surface.
Excuse me, can you tell us where we can find a real octopus?
Asked Dolly.
Hold on to my pincers, and I'll show you the little island where the octopus likes to sunbathe.
The crab helped them to the island and swam away. The octopus was much bigger than they'd imagined, and it frightened them. Berry and Dolly hid behind a big rock. Then the octopus had a good idea. It picked up some pebbles and started to juggle them with its 8 tentacles. The little ladybird and the snail crept out from behind the rock.
Come over here,
the octopus said.
I'll show you the prettiest pebbles on my island.
Berry and Dolly quickly made friends with the octopus, and they all had so much fun.
It's time for us to go,
said Dolly.
Goodbye. It was very nice to meet you.
Bye-bye,
replied the octopus, and gave them both a shiny pebble each. Berry and Dolly got into the boat and tried to paddle away, but it was too hard.
Oh dear, Berry, we won't be able to manage. We'll have to get out of the boat.
Dolly was really scared.
See, Berry, I told you we shouldn't have sailed so far from home.
I think you're right, Dolly.
But then the stone started to move.
Why are you so sad, little snail?
The stone asked. This made Berry laugh. It wasn't a stone after all. It was a turtle.
My friends, the rainbow fish, are about to begin their long journey. They'll swim up the stream all the way to the source. I'm sure they'd be happy to take you with them.
Berry and Dolly said goodbye to the turtle and sat on the back of the captain fish. Then they all set off on their way home. By the time it was getting dark, the fish had reached the clearing where the ladybird's spotty house stood. Berry and Dolly thanked the fish for their help, and they swam away.
See, Dolly? All's well that ends well,
the little snail said wisely. Flutter goes skiing. On a winter day, Iris the ice beetle invited all her friends to go skiing. Has everyone got skis? She asked. I haven't, said Berry. And I haven't, Leapy the grasshopper girl joined in. Neither have I, Flutter the butterfly added. Then let's make some skis for you. It isn't hard, Iris said with a smile. The friends all joined in. They sawed and sanded thin planks of wood, fixed foot straps to them, and made poles for everyone, and the skis were finished by lunchtime. They all walked up the hill together. When they got to the top, they strapped on their skis and put on their ski helmets. Then Iris asked, "Does everyone know how to ski? I can teach anyone who doesn't." They all nodded except for Flutter. The little butterfly girl didn't know how to ski, but she didn't say anything.
It can't be all that hard. I'll soon get the hang of it,
she thought to herself. She only dared whisper the truth to the green grub. Berry was the first to go. "Whoopee!" he shouted with a broad grin as he sped down the snowy hillside. Dolly came after Berry, and then Balthazar, and then the others. Flutter was the last one to set off. She took a deep breath and pushed herself off. The only problem was she didn't know how to stop. She carried on skiing over the next hill and then the hill after that until she had skied a very long way away from the others. The little butterfly girl only stopped when she fell over into a big pile of snow. It was a while before the others realised that Flutter was missing.
Flutter doesn't know how to ski,
the green grub eventually told them. "She can't ski?" they all asked in surprise.
This was her first time. She was very nervous, but she didn't dare to mention it. Oh, I'm frightened that something terrible has happened to her.
The friends set off to search for Flutter. Dr. Owl was flying past, and he spotted Flutter in the snow below.
Flutter, what happened to you?
he asked.
I couldn't stop and I fell over in the snow. I really hurt myself. I thought I'd never be able to stop. I don't want to ski again,
Flutter sobbed. Dr. Owl felt very sorry for the little butterfly girl, so he put her on his back and took her to his house. "I'll bandage you up and then I'll take you to Iris's house. I'm sure the others will be looking for you," Dr. Owl said in a reassuring voice. The little friends frantically searched around, but they couldn't find Flutter anywhere. They walked sadly back to Iris's house. But Flutter was waiting for them when they arrived. They were overjoyed.
Hooray! Are you all right, Flutter? Tell us what happened to you,
Dolly told her. Flutter told them the whole story from beginning to end.
So you don't know how to ski?
Iris asked in surprise.
I'll teach you. You'll soon learn how to turn and stop, and you'll be able to ski down even the steepest hills. Thank you,
the butterfly girl said with a smile. Iris started to teach Flutter to ski the very next morning. By the end of the first day, the little butterfly girl could ski down small hills and stop safely at the bottom.
Look! Flutter can ski! This calls for a celebration!
Stanley shouted, and he started to play a tune on the icicles. The others sang and danced around the happy little butterfly. Bubble has hiccups.
One fine day in autumn, Berry, Dolly, Balthazar, Flutter, Stanley and Bubble set off on a walk to the waterfall. Bubble suddenly started to hiccup. Balthazar offered him his water bottle.
Have a drink of water. That'll stop it.
Bubble took a couple of gulps, but his hiccups still didn't stop. Have a bite to eat, Dolly told him. That'll stop it. Bubble bit into his bread roll, but his hiccups still didn't stop. Hold your breath for a while. That'll stop it, Flutter advised. Bubble held his breath for a long while, but his hiccups still didn't stop.
In the end, Stanley came up with a plan to make Bubble jump. He hurried off and hid behind a big tree. Just as Bubble was walking past, he jumped out with a shout from behind the tree and gave the flower beetle a fright. In fact, he was so shocked he fell over. And his hiccups stopped. But now Bubble was cross with Stanley.
That was a very mean thing to do. I don't jump out at you from behind trees.
I only wanted to help. I stopped your hiccups.
I still don't like it when people make me jump,
Bubble grumbled. All right, I won't help you next time, the stag beetle shouted back. They all carried on their way and soon arrived at the waterfall.
It looks so lovely,
Bubble shouted, and he ran so fast towards the waterfall that he slipped right in. Stanley caught him by the arms at the very last minute and pulled him out of the water.
Thank you,
Bubble snivelled.
I'm sorry I got so cross.
We need to get home as quickly as we can because Bubble is soaked to the skin. He could catch a chill,
Dolly said with concern. They then all heard thunderous footsteps from behind the trees and an enormous lizard appeared right before them.
Don't be afraid of me,
he said.
Which way are you going? I'll happily give you a ride on my back.
The forest friends were delighted by the idea and happily hopped onto the lizard's back. And as they made their way back home, Bubble slowly started to hiccup again. I'm definitely not going to make you jump again. Hiccups can stop just as easily on their own. That's exactly what happened. By the time the lizard arrived back at Bubble's house, his hiccups had completely stopped. The little beetle said goodbye to all his pals. After Bubble, the lizard took Stanley and Balthazar to their houses. The stag beetle and the bumblebee thanked him for the ride and waved him happily on his way. Soon after that, they arrived at Dolly's house, where the ladybird girl said goodbye to her friends and hopped off the lizard's back, shortly followed by Berry. Flutter was now the final passenger, and it was getting dark by the time the lizard delivered her back home.
Thanks so much for all your help, lizard,
Flutter said, before stepping into her house, where she went straight to bed.
May, the Runaway Raft. It was a sunny day in May, and Stanley the stag beetle and Balthazar the bee were sitting quietly on the riverbank. Stanley started to build a little raft from the twigs he found by the waterside. He tied the twigs together with long blades of grass and finished it with a sail made from a leaf.
Look, it's ready,
he said as he proudly showed it to Balthazar.
Let's put it on the water. Let's see how it sails,
the bee boy suggested.
Let's follow it,
Balthazar enthused. They followed the raft on its way. They were keen to see how far it would go. Suddenly, the sky turned dark. The boys did not know what to do.
Oh dear, where are we?
Asked Balthazar.
I don't know. We seem to have wandered away from our forest,
Stanley stated.
Let's turn back before it starts to rain,
the bee said with concern.
Okay, wait, I'll bring the raft,
said Stanley, but the little boat had vanished from view. Leave it. You can build another raft. They had only taken a few steps when the storm broke. How will we get home now? Balthazar panicked. Grab my feet and I'll fly you both home, said a voice from above. The boys looked up and saw Christopher Canary. They took a firm hold of his feet. They were making very good progress until a sudden gust of wind blew Christopher off course. Stanley and Balthazar both fell, but thankfully landed on a soft mossy carpet. Let's shelter in that hole, said Stanley, pointing to a tree. They waited and waited for the storm to pass, but slowly fell fast asleep. And there they slept until they were woken by Spider.
Wake up! What happened to you two? Are you all right?
The worried Spider asked.
Come on, the storm's over and the rain's nearly stopped. Climb onto my back and we'll go to my cave. Then I'll happily take you home.
Thank you, the tired boys said, and they hopped onto Spider's back. Meanwhile, the sun came out and a rainbow stretched across the sky. They soon arrived at the cave. Spider gave them dry towels and treated them to a snack of wafer biscuits and hot tea. Later, when they were fed and rested, they set off home again. Spider carried them both back, and they thanked him for his help. The next morning, Christopher the Canary tapped on Stanley's window. Good morning! I just wanted to check that you are both okay, the bird tweeted. We were very worried about you too. We're fine. It started out as a boring day, but then it got a little too adventurous, the stag beetle chuckled. Balthazar and Stanley went back to the riverbank the next day. Should we make a raft? Stanley laughed as he asked his pal. Yes, but let's not follow it. If it floats away, it floats away, said Balthazar.
The hot air balloon. One summer afternoon, a storm blew up in the forest. Dolly the ladybird and Berry the snail sat watching it from the spotty house. The wild wind twisted the trees and blew the roofs off houses. The rain came down in buckets. When the rain and wind finally stopped, the two friends took a look around the forest.
Look, Dolly, the wind blew this tree over, Berry said.
And the rain washed away my flowers, Dolly sighed. Leapy the grasshopper came rushing in.
Dolly! Berry! Come quickly! Someone's lying in the meadow!
The friends found an oil beetle lying in the meadow. Oh, what happened to you? What's your name? Who are you? Dolly sputtered. I'm Adette the oil beetle. I live up in the mountains, but the wind blew me down here and I hit my head really hard. My wings are weak and I can't fly. I don't know how I'm going to get home, the oil beetle sniffled. They lifted Adette up and carried her into Leapy's house. Don't worry, Dolly said eventually. We'll help you get home. That afternoon, Balthazar the bee, Flutter the butterfly and Stanley the stag beetle all came to see Adette. They tried to think of ways to help her get home.
The best thing would be a hot air balloon,
Stanley said. But what could we use to make a balloon? Berry asked.
We could use blankets, pillows and sheets,
Flutter suggested.
and curtains and towels too,
Stanley added. They got to work immediately. They stitched all the blankets, curtains, sheets and towels together. It took a while to get everything finished, but Adette helped as much as she could. Every day she was feeling stronger, and even her head had stopped hurting.
It's ready.
Thank you,
The oil beetle replied happily.
Hooray! We're flying!
Berry exclaimed.
Wow, it's beautiful! We can see the whole forest from here.
Dolly laughed. It started to get dark. When they eventually arrived, Adette cried out,
Hooray! I'm home. Thank you. Please stay the night and watch the shooting stars with me.
We'd love to, the little friends said. Adette quickly made them something to eat and gave them delicious cakes and tea. After dinner, they all sat down in front of Adette's house and waited for shooting stars to appear in the night sky.
Hooray! I saw a shooting star!
Berry exclaimed excitedly.
Me too,
Dolly said.
And me,
added Stanley. They went into Adette's house when it got colder and sat and watched the stars through the window. They all made a wish and fell fast asleep. As she slowly drifted to sleep, Adette wished that someday she would meet her new friends again. Seashells. Zephyr the dragonfly and Leapy the grasshopper girl were collecting pebbles down by the stream. Dr. Owl flew down to join them.
I'm going to see Bubble. He's got a sore throat,
he said and hurried on. But soon after that, he tripped on a tree root and fell over. His doctor's bag flew open and everything fell out onto the ground. Leapy and Zephyr helped to gather up all of his things. As well as medical instruments, they found all kinds of strange things.
They were presents from my patients. You shouldn't keep such beautiful treasures in your doctor's bag. You're right. I'll look for a small box, the old owl nodded. But I've got to hurry because Bubble is waiting for me.
Bye-bye, Dr. Owl,
the girls shouted after him. Zephyr and Leapy were strolling home when they saw the robin outside Dolly's house. The red bird was just saying goodbye to the ladybird girl.
I have to go now. It's a long flight to the seaside. Are you going to the seaside?
Can we go with you too?
Asked Zephyr and Leapy with glee.
I'd be happy to take you,
the bird replied. They could clearly see the whole forest from high in the sky, as well as the lake and all the little houses. They flew for a very long time until they reached the endless blue of the salty sea.
Thank you for your help, Robin.
and the friends ran quickly to the sandy beach. They collected super seashells and could hardly decide which ones they liked the best.
Look, this one's beautiful too. I'll put it in the bag,
said Leapy as the treasures began to collect in the little bag. Just then the crab appeared and walked straight through the sand-coloured bag, smashing their carefully collected pile of seashells into little pieces.
Oh, the shells!
She nervously tipped the contents of the bag out onto the sand, but not one single shell was still intact. Don't be sad. The best shells are never on the beach, but deep down at the bottom of the sea. I'll bring you much more beautiful seashells. The girls liked the sound of this. The crab jumped quickly into the sea and very soon reappeared with a collection of fabulous seashells. He kept doing this until the bag was completely full.
They're beautiful seashells, Crab, thank you.
It's time for us to go home. We have to find the robin.
But the robin had no intention of going home.
Not until the spring,
she said sulkily.
Then how will we get home again?
The girls asked.
By turtle! Come on!
I'll give you a ride, said a voice from the waves. So Leapy and Zephyr travelled home on the turtle's back. When they arrived back home, they thanked the turtle for his help and said goodbye. The next day, Leapy and Zephyr showed Berry and Dolly all the lovely seashells they had collected.
Let's make something out of them,
Berry suggested.
That's a super idea, but what?
Asked Zephyr.
Oh, I know. Let's make a box for Dr. Owl's treasures,
Leapy said, and they all got hard to work. The old owl was very pleased with the box, and he carefully placed his collection of special things inside. A pebble, a pine cone, a conker, a pressed flower, a pencil, some drawings, and a wooden horse.